Hey there, you're listening to Not Another TV podcast. This is episode 35, the week of February 2nd, 2024. My name's Shurkonig. With me, as always, my co-host, Mads Sassy. Mads, how we doing?
Doing pretty good.
Another week. We're out of January. First month of the year, done.
Yep.
What is time? This is my continued question. What is time, and how can I get it to make
January?
sense?
Right. January felt like it took 5 million years.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I just don't understand.
Well, it both felt like it took 5 million years and also took 5 days. I don't understand. Like,
yeah.
Again, time makes no sense to me. I don't understand it, but here it is, and here we are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, I don't know what happened to January. Like, it's just gone. Like, I feel like we just started.
Yes.
But, oh well, you know, January's gone, February cometh. Hopefully it's a little bit better than January was. I don't have high hopes.
I'm hoping.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
I'm still recovering from January, so I don't have high hopes for
Right.
February.
Well, like,
we had so many
right.
things go wrong in January. Like,
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
even funny.
Well, I was like, I was just thinking today of, like, when I was out with the flu, and I was like,
Mhm.
I know it, like, logically it wasn't that long ago, but it feels like it was so long ago.
Mhm.
Like, how is that possible? Like, I was like, I know I'm technically still, like, quasi, recuperating. I'm like, but also that was forever ago, right? Like, that was 6 months ago, right?
Yes,
like,
actually.
Not like I just had it. So it's like, what is happening here? I don't know.
Yeah.
This week, Drew attempts to understand time and fails.
Yeah. Well, it's just, I was just thinking about it because, like, last week we had an emergency with our cat, and all month long I've been fighting with my insurance company to get the things that, I don't know, I need to stay
Right.
alive. And because every so often at the start of the year, my insurance company is like, oh no, we need to go through a process to make sure that you are, these are necessary items for your life. And I'm just like, my diabetes didn't disappear. It's still there. I still need these things. And then I was thinking, I was like, oh wait, we also lost our dog in January. No, we didn't. It was the end. Nope, it was the beginning of January. Yeah. Just like, how is that real? Like, that doesn't seem right. That seems like incorrect. I thought he died right after Christmas. No, he died after New Year's. Like,
no. In regards to your diabetes thing, like, one of my former co-hosts is paraplegic. And she has a prosthetic leg, and every year some government representative or hospital representative would come to her house to make sure that she is indeed still without a leg. Just to make sure. Just gotta take care of that. Sure. Gotta eyeball that one. And every year she'd just have this look of, she'd tell me, like, she'd have this look of bewilderment on her face of, like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, my insurance company was like, I needed supplies for my insulin pump, and I needed a replacement prescription for my CGM, that checks my blood glucose numbers. And they're like, well, we need paperwork from your doctor saying that you still need these things. And I'm like, type 1 diabetes
Right.
never goes away.
Mm-hmm.
It's still there. I still need these things. Like, thank you for putting my health at risk, because bureaucrats take like 2 to 3 weeks at minimum to get shit done.
Right.
I'm just like, I can't.
Yeah. It's always that thing of like, I'm not a starfish. Right? I don't magically regrow things, or like my body does not fix itself like this. It'd be nice.
It would be nice, but no. Yeah.
Anyways. So let's talk about some news real quick. So
yes.
I think that the top thing that I think we have to talk about here, that is more or less like hot off the wire, is Carl Weathers passed away earlier today. I don't want to talk about it either, but
it's sad.
Carl Weathers, famously of Rocky and Predator and The Mandalorian and tons of other things, passed away, and it's super sad. And I don't want these like cool people that we follow to keep dying. I don't like it anymore. This is my point. This is the point that I'm at. No more. I'm done. Yeah. But yeah, he passed away at the age of 76 today.
Well, the thing that threw me off was one of the people I follow, who's also a TV critic and is involved in things like what we do, was talking about how he had only just tweeted either yesterday or the day before, and I'm like, that's weird. That just that blows my mind, because you're just like, what? And now he's dead?
Yeah. What it's like, and we just saw him in the latest season of Mando, and it's like he still looked very good for his age.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and that kind of this kind of goes to, we'll talk about this more later, but we started watching Feud this week, and I get slapped in the face with Treat Williams, and I'm like, this guy is not here anymore. How is that real?
I didn't think about that, but yeah.
Well, and then also with Percy Jackson, we had the Lance Reddick moment this week from Percy Jackson, and you're just like, this is the week of dead people, really apparently.
Yeah. Yeesh.
But yeah, it's one of those things that there are certain faces that you always expect to be there, and then when they're not anymore, you're just like, oh,
right.
It's just
it's also weird. Not to be too specific about this, but the kind of rash of older black men, older black actors that have died in the last year. It's super weird. Somebody find Keith David and put him in a bunker. Please and thank you. Just a very weird coincidence.
Yeah, please. Yeah, let's just take all of them and put them in protective custody. Please.
Let's just take Keith David, put him in cryogenesis, and then take him out when we need him. Take him out when he has a role, and then just put him back in.
I know he's not super old, but Idris Elba, like, go protect that man too. Go protect him. Like, protect him, please. Because apparently age doesn't matter. Because Lance Reddick, I didn't think was that old either. No, he was only 60. So yeah, like Idris Elba is in his early 50s. So like, yeah, protect that man. Protect that man. But I think it kind of like speaks to a little bit about how our healthcare system has been getting worse and worse and worse, especially for certain types of people. As unfortunate as it is to say something like that, like generally.
Right, yeah.
We live in a very racist built society. But anyways.
Yeah. I'm trying to see if they said how or why he died. Yeah,
I don't think they've said yet.
It's only been like 6 hours.
Yeah, it literally was just announced.
Just today.
I mean, technically he died yesterday, apparently, but like, yeah, it was just announced a couple hours ago.
Well, like, I hadn't been on Twitter all day, and I came back on, and I was just like scrolling through like the For You side of it, and I was just like, wait, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
Why is everyone suddenly very bummed out? And yep, I had to find that out for myself.
That's why.
Yeah, super rough.
I forget that he worked with Adam Sandler until Adam Sandler like made a post about it, and I was just like, oh yeah, this dude worked with like everybody.
Yeah.
Looking to see if all it says is that he survived by his ex-wife and his 2 sons. It hasn't really said anything about what caused it. As horrible as it is to say this, like, I feel like it was probably something super sudden because it did. I feel like they at least allude to an illness if it was an illness.
Right. That makes sense. Anyway. Well, rest in peace, Carl Weathers. In other news.
Yes.
Apparently there's going to be a Winona Earp special. There was a report by, well, not a report, but Alex Albin, who does a lot of TV entertainment news, entertainment reporting, noticed in production notes that there is something labeled as a Winona Earp special coming. Which is very interesting because Emily Andress, who is notoriously insane, has not said anything about this. And it seems to be the only area that has made any mention of this, and there wasn't any kind of announcement prior to this or since. I believe this was yesterday that he reported this, tweeted about it. So it's very interesting. It's a very interesting thing. I would very much like to see that. There has been, I think been 2 years since it went off the air. Since they had their series finale. So I definitely want to know everything about that. I don't know. Have you watched Winona Earp?
I have not. It's on my list to someday.
I enjoy it a lot. Yeah, it's very enjoyable. But hopefully we get more information about this pretty soon. What a lot of people note is that there might be contract things, and Emily Andress is not able to speak on it yet, because if Andress could, she would. As I said, she's out of her mind. So I look forward to more information coming out about this. I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to pull some kind of Christmas special thing, because that is not outside of their wheelhouse.
Yeah.
But like if that's kind of the like thing now of like if Winona Earp just wanted to do like the psych thing of just, hey, here's a special every like 3 or 4 years, like I would be down for that. Like if we just did like the psych thing, I was like, that would be fine with me. I have no complaints about that.
There are two things that I wanted to mention. One of which is Suits LA was announced and got a season pickup from NBC, which I'm not quite sure how I feel about it yet. I'm a little tired of shows just creating franchises or people creating franchises because they're like, well, it worked for the original, so like, why not make a spinoff? And you're just like, why not create something new? But I don't know how I feel about it. I'm kind of excited because it is Suits, and I'm optimistic that it'll be good. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. But the other piece of news was that today it was announced that Sam Waterston would be leaving Law and Order, and they would be replacing him with Tony Goldwyn from Scandal. And this is another one of those things. I'm like, I don't know how I feel because Jack McCoy is such an iconic character, but like, I understand Sam wants to like leave it behind.
Like 90
years
I'm
old. Done.
Like,
the dude's been doing it for 5 million years. Like, whatever. All I'm asking though is that Law and Order does not kill his character on air, because like, let's not do that. We're good. Just let the man retire. Just let McCoy say, hey, I'm stepping down because I'm old as dirt. Let someone else do it.
Yeah. It is crazy that we're like in 2024 and we're like, Sam Waterston is leaving Law and Order, and it's like, how is this happening? How is this our life?
Because they were stupid and decided to reboot it 3 years ago. And I'm the stupider one for reviewing it every week, but that's beside the point.
Well, this is like the 30 Rock quote of like, make it 2008 by science or magic. Like, I feel like we've gone backwards in time. Like, like this is a headline I would expect from like 2010.
Yep.
Like, hey guys, this is the last season of the show. Sam Waterston's leaving.
I'm not gonna lie, the only reason I review it is because I know it's an easy like cash grab. Like, I know it's gonna get views. Right. I'm like, listen, and I don't like hate myself watching it, and I'm like, but you can tell that I'm just like, this is not something that I find overly enjoyable.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, listen, they did not come out the gate this season really well. They've kind of recovered themselves a bit with the writing, but it's still, they shouldn't have brought it back.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've not watched Law and Order since it came back. So
listen, I love, supporting Cameron Manheim's career because I love that woman, but girl, you're not on this show enough for me to like without getting paid for it to watch this show.
I mean, the time for that was Stumptown. The time for that was Stumptown. Like, just to be clear.
Anyway, but those are my two big news things for the week that I've seen.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention was the people behind the Netflix Avatar: The Last Airbender adaptation have been talking, and they should stop.
Stop talking. They should stop talking.
I don't think anyone has ever worked this hard to actively get people to not watch their show. Because they seem to have, they seem to have thoroughly not understand the show that they're adapting.
Yeah, like I was kind of optimistic about it because the preview looked decent. I was like, okay, this looks like they're doing the right thing. And then they open their mouths, and I'm like, so wait, you're gonna show the killing of the Air Nation by the why? You can just mention it, and that's fine. Oh, you needed to make it more like quote unquote adult because you thought that it being a cartoon meant that only children watched it before. No, you clearly didn't watch the show. Like, oh my god, just shut up.
We're not gonna make Sokka sexist. That was the whole point of his character. That was his entire arc. That's his entire arc. We're not gonna have Aang do fun things. That was the entire point of his arc.
Yep. They're just like actively saying, how can we put our foot in our mouth and fuck this up before it even is?
Good God.
I was just like, every tweet I saw today with a new statement that was being paraphrased, I was just like, nope. Nope. We're not going here.
Yeah, I just don't know how you fumble this much. Like, it really is kind of spectacular. Like, they should teach this in schools.
It's kind of funny that, like, we, on one hand, in regards to content that, like, really was a big part of my, teenage years. On the one hand, we've got Percy Jackson that redeemed itself from the terrible films that were created in the early 2000s for it. And then we've got The Last Airbender that is like, oh, you thought the movie was bad? Just wait.
Right.
Oh, and I was like, I had hopes for you. You failed. Yeah. Did you get notes from M. Night Shyamalan? Is that what happened? Did M. Night Shyamalan
I don't
give you
understand
notes?
how a PR person is not in the room with them. Like,
I just
Do you all need like another adult there? Like, what's happening that compels you to say these things? Literally, sometimes it's easier to just not say something. Mm-hmm. Truly outstanding work, everyone.
Is this the point where the PR person comes out and says, "Pay no mind to the man behind the curtain"?
Yeah.
Like, this is. I was just like, oh boy, somebody did not media train these people. Either that or they did, and these people were just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna say what I want. Which is also a possibility.
Yeah, just what the fuck are we doing here, guys? And the last piece of news that I wanted to mention here, real briefly, because there's literally no information about it, is that Captain O'Hara is joining the second season of The Last of Us.
Yeah,
exciting.
That exciting, but also like all the Moira memes that have been going around because of it. I'm laughing hysterically because they're like, Moira in a zombie apocalypse.
Outstanding. No notes.
I want it. I want to see it. Let's see.
I would like to see it.
I don't know what the context of this is, but I'm here for it.
Yeah, no, that's the fun thing about, like, I haven't played The Last of Us, but like I know more about like part 1 than I know about part 2. And I only know like broad strokes about like part 2, so I have no idea what's gonna yeah. I only know like the things that like really, really happen for season 2. So like I have no idea who Catherine O'Hara is gonna play. And like that's kind of fun for me.
I know nothing, so I know nothing. I'm just here for this. Right. I've recently gotten back into being on Tumblr because I need to escape Twitter more often. I'm like, Tumblr is where you go for just fandom shenanigans. Like, you never know what kind of fandom post you're gonna find on there, and it's fun. And there was one someone like reposted this video that all these celebrities did at the height of COVID for like that was like redoing The Princess Bride. Parts of The Princess Bride, and I'm like, I don't remember this, but then again, 2020 was a fever dream, so I probably did see this in 2020. I say it because Catherine O'Hara was part of it too, and I was just like, of course she was. But anyways.
But yeah, I think that's all our news here. Anyway, let's move on into the GOAT. So the GOAT is a weekly segment we do here on the podcast where myself and Mads nominate a best TV character or episode of all time and pit them against each other on a poll on Twitter and TikTok. Last week, I nominated Brooklyn Nine-Nine Season 5, Episode 4, Halloween, and Mads, you nominated Dexter Season 4, Episode 12, The Getaway. We didn't get a lot of... I'm going to be transparent with you all here. We didn't get anything, really. TikTok betrayed us. TikTok is actively working against us. So we got like 2 votes.
It's hard to figure out the TikTok algorithm anymore. Like, I feel like something you think is going to like get views doesn't, and stuff that you're like, that's no one's gonna see that, gets like hundreds of views, and you're just like,
right. Well, like I feel like not that long ago, like when I put in like hashtags for like our TikTok videos, it felt like the numbers were like in the millions before, and now they're not. And maybe that just goes down to like the things that we're talking about, but it feels like it's lower now, just like across the board. So like that's weird. TikTok's also going through a weird phase right now. All the music is pretty much gone from TikTok.
Yeah, because I posted something with a song on it, and it wasn't even from like a big name artist. It was from like an indie artist, and like I got notification today that the sound had been taken off that video, and I'm like, what? What?
Yeah, like Universal took all of its music, and Universal owns most of the music, like just straight up. So who knows if TikTok is even a platform that will survive, and one that we continue using. Who knows? But that all is to say that I won by a very narrow margin, which is practically no margin. So, Mads, you get to go first with your pick for the GOAT.
All right. So, as I mentioned before we started recording, I quote unquote wasted, and I say wasted because we have a job to do for this podcast, and that is to watch television that is current, not old favorites. But anyways, I wasted multiple days this week finishing up my like 5th or 6th rewatch of Queer as Folk. And while there are some things about that show that didn't age, majority of it did a great job of bringing forward things that at the time we weren't talking about. But my pick for this week is one of my top 3 favorite characters from that show, which is Emmett Honeycut, played by the incomparable Peter Page, who now does a lot of behind the scenes work on television shows. For example, like he's involved with Station 19 currently. And Emmett Honeycut is just, yes, he is the stereotypical effeminate gay on the surface. But underneath, he's just a sweet, loyal friend who is just full of life. And so there are moments throughout the show where he loses that light, and you notice because he's such a positive force in the friend group. And I just love how he manages to always bounce back from those moments because his friends are there to like boost him back up. But he also does it for himself. And he is a Southern gentleman through and through. He always has an Aunt Lula story, which, you know, is very like stereotypical in the South. Like, you know, there's that one family member that always does something and they always have a story about them. That's Emmett's Aunt Lulu. He's just funny and kind and is always rooting for everyone to find happiness and love. And it's just something that I need in my life right now. He's the type of character that just kind of puts to rest my bad mental health. Like he just makes me feel better. So yeah, Emmett Honeycut from Queer as Folk.
So my pick for this week is one that I've had on my list for a while, and I've just decided to bite the bullet on this one. Just finally do it. And this is one where I'm taking it way, way back. How far back? We're going to the 50s, y'all.
I was going to say, are you going to go to the 50s?
It's a grand year of 1959 with The Twilight Zone in its original run. Season 1, Episode 8. Time Enough at Last. And you might know the episode that I'm talking about before I even start talking about it. Because it is an eminently iconic episode. That has been parodied to death and back. So, this episode stars Burgess Meredith playing Henry Bemis, who is just a slightly off-kilter man who has no desire in the world greater than to just read. And he wants to read all the time. And everyone in his life is determined to keep him from this very simple pursuit of just reading whatever he possibly can, whether it's a book or poems or a magazine. And everyone in his life seems hell-bent on keeping him from this pursuit. And as the episode goes on and watching this man just hiding books and pilfering books and trying to read books on the clock at work, until the very end, when a seeming apocalypse occurs and he is the last man on Earth. And he just has all the time in the world to read. He has all the food he could possibly want. He has all the water he could possibly need. He has shelter, and he has no other worry in his mind than to just read. And the episode ends like so many Twilight Zone episodes end, and he gets exactly what he wants. But it's kind of a genie thing. You'll get what you want, but in the way that you don't want it. Because in the last moment, as he's reading a book, his glasses break. And this is the iconic episode. This is the iconic moment of that, where his glasses break and he picks it up and he goes, that isn't fair. So he'll have all these books to read for the rest of his life, but he's too blind to read them. So it's this great ending in a kind of Greek tragedy kind of way. And yeah, I watched it recently. Remains just an outstanding, crisp 25 minutes. Which, to be clear, is the exact length that a Twilight Zone episode should be. I'm looking at you, Jordan Peele. I am coming for you. Yeah, just the perfect length. It is brisk. It is almost perfect. It is as perfect as an episode can be. And there is a reason that it has stuck through the decades. Although a lot of Twilight Zone episodes you could say that about.
To be honest, I don't know much about Twilight Zone episodes, so this was all new to me.
Very good. There's a reason that it's been remade countless times.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. It's I don't know, just one of those things I haven't actually sat down and watched.
It's been remade 3 times. I think they remade it in the 80s, in the aughts, and in just a few years ago. But yeah, so that's my pick. Twilight Zone season 1, episode 8. Time enough at last. You can vote for both of these on Twitter and TikTok, and you'll have 2 days to vote once the polls go live. And be sure to like and share it on whatever social you're using, and be sure to send us in your own GOAT submissions that we can use for you. And we'll link back to you. Mm-hmm. So without anything else, let's move on into the main part of our show.
Hello there, good morning, Fubususa. Come closer, never leave me.
So to kick things off this week, we are continuing with our Adventure Time rewatch, getting close to the end of season 6. With episode 33, Germaine, episode 38, You Forgot Your Floaties, and episode 40, Orgalord. So there's a lot of really strong mythos building in this episode. A lot of very important Adventure Time DNA being seeded in as we get into the back stretch of these seasons. Because we only have 4 more seasons to go after this. So it's kind of seeding in things for in-game stuff. But
okay,
especially into the season. So let's start with Germaine, which is perhaps the most lighthearted of these.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so I'm watching this episode and I suffered through 15 years of Supernatural, and so the fact that he has a salt line around his house, I'm just like, oh, okay, so at least that's something that is happens in multiple universes with regards to demons and ghosts and things like that. And then it's just funny later on where the salt comes back up because they're eating and he's just like, oh, I've never had salt before. Wait a minute, where did you get the salt? And Jake's like, I took some from outside. And we're like, bro, you broke the salt line? Like, it was ridiculous. And I enjoyed it.
It's a very good trope.
But also, I just love that, like, Jermaine and Jake just, like, literally just go at each other because Jermaine is just so frustrated with the life he has to lead.
Yeah.
He's like, Jake, you get to live in a tree house. You get to have fun and be stupid.
Yeah. It is a fun episode about, like, the responsibilities that we feel that our parents put on us that might not actually exist, but we feel like, you know, particularly in terms of, like, a legacy, it's like, oh, I have to, like, live up to this idea.
Yeah.
But, like, no one... the thing this episode gets to is that, like, no one's forcing you to do that but yourself. Really. Because you don't owe thanks to dead people. Right?
Right. And also, like, the very real dynamic of these two brothers, because, you know, I have siblings, you have siblings, and there's always that, okay, I'm the sibling that is seen as more mature and more responsible, therefore I feel obligated to do all these very responsible and mature things, which is where Jermaine stands. And then there's Jake, who's just always been a goofball, and he's, you know, you're jealous and frustrated at the fact that he gets to do those things, but really, what's stopping you from doing them? Like, but you're angry at your sibling because you're like, well, I just don't get to have a carefree life. And that's kind of how I feel about my younger siblings sometimes. My little sister is always getting into financial situations that my mom will bail her out of. And like, I get into a financial situation and I can't find it in myself to ask my mother for help. So I just automatically am like, well, my mother wouldn't help me, but she'll bail her out, you know?
Yeah, that's a lot like my my younger eldest sister, who we always say was a middle child even before the youngest was born. Always very serious, but always the world is out to get her. You know,
Yes.
very has to be the responsible one, even though I am the oldest. She very much feels, and I felt that a lot in this episode of, like, you don't have to be responsible, but you choose to be responsible. You know.
Shh, I'm still learning that, okay?
Yeah. But Jermaine, wonderfully voiced by Tom Sharpling, who was Steven's dad from Steven Universe, who was just a great conceptualization for, like, that voice. Because you're like, yeah, that's exactly how Jermaine should sound. Like, yeah, like. Like, when you only know Jermaine is, like, a kind of concept, and you're like, what does he sound like? Like, yeah, that's Tom Sharpling is what he sounds like. Like, Greg Universe is what he sounds like. Yeah. Like, of course. And he does a great job at it. Just throughout the episode.
Yeah.
Like, I love his work when, the moment when he's trying to get to the cellar, and he goes, open, you sissy. It's just so good.
Yeah. I'm like, that's a password.
Yes. Also, the Booba Sousa song is perpetually stuck in my head.
But also, like, the whole situation down in the basement where, like, he's like, well, you know, I would have let you free, but... And it's like, You literally, that is the stupidest reason for not letting that guy go. Just letting him go. Just let him go. That was your father's battle, not yours. Like, just let him go. But it goes back to, he feels like he was he was handed these things by their father when really he wasn't. He just took them up.
Yeah. And like he says, sometimes the worst person is the one you build for yourself. Yeah, this is just such a fun episode,
though. What is so offensive about this episode? I'm in it and I don't like it.
Well, let's move over to You Forgot Your Floaties, which kind of puts a big old pin in Magic Man, and sets Betty off in a very interesting direction. So we see Betty, after, I guess, working to fix the Ice King and bring him back to Simon, she started working with Magic Man, who...
Yeah, because, I mean, she has every good intention with what she's doing. Like, she wants to find the origins of magic in the hopes that it'll give her the answers she needs for Simon.
Yeah, and I can imagine, like, Magic Man being quite literally insane is not, like, a deterrent for her. Because, like, even, like, as she talks about, every wizard she's met is, like, either sad or crazy. Sad and or crazy, I should say. So, like, Magic Man just kind of being perpetually off his rocker it wouldn't be any more of a red flag than, like, every other wizard is. So, like, there is a certain amount of, like, well, why would you trust this guy? But it's like, why would you? You're gonna have to trust a wizard at a certain point. And Magic Man is probably the most powerful wizard. Or, like, magic user.
Right. And he's, as crazy as he seems the most sane on the surface. So, like, of course she's going to be attracted to that. She's going to be like, I'm sure there's something underneath all this facade, but, like, she's like, he knows the most. Yes. And probably as horrible as it is to say this, probably one of the more trustworthy ones, just because he knows so much. And yes, he plays tricks and things, but Betty, a part of Betty, I feel, is a little more trusting than she should be.
Well, I think to Betty, there's a through line between Magic Man to Ice King, where it's like, there is a person underneath all of this insanity. Like, as Magic Man says, like, the crab under the water. And if you can just find the crab, then there's, like, a through line. There's a way forward.
Right, and we get to see a bit of that. We get to see a bit of that with the Magic Man, with Margles, because, okay, here is this woman that he loves and cares about deeply, and that's not something that from spending only 2 seconds with him. Like, it's not a surface level thing. It's underneath everything else. And he loves her so much that he makes Betty look like her as a distraction so he can get the real Margles. Right.
It's also the thing of, like, cycles, right? Magic Man made himself insane in this attempt to bring Margles back, or bring a version of Margles back that he can recognize and physically interact with. And through that made himself more insane. Made himself this like, bastardization of Magic Man. And in the same way, like, Betty's attempt to, like, bring back Simon is the thing that, like, brings her to madness. So it's, it's almost like madness is being passed off, like it's like it's It Follows, Like, so it's just like transmitted disease that can just perpetually be passed on from person to person.
Well, I mean, if the through line is magic, then magic is causing the madness.
Yes.
So basically, just walk away from the magic, people.
Yeah. But it does set Betty off in like fairly interesting direction going forward. And like, how will this affect the way that she tries to bring back Simon?
Yeah.
Will this change like her methods or you know, her subtlety? Because she's kind of been on like in the background since she came back.
Yeah.
But also, what does it mean for Magic Man to no longer be Magic Man? You know, what are the repercussions of that? You know, so very interesting things going forward.
Also, why did he turn Jake into soup and Finn into an egg?
Good question. Well, I think he turned
those are the most important questions. Well, come on, Drew.
He turned Finn into an egg, and he turned Jake into a bowl of flour.
Oh, I thought it was soup.
I think that's
like
how
soup.
they, because like when they go in the oven, that's how they become like the bread, right?
Oh, that maybe. I don't know. It looked like soup to me. Egg. I'm just
the magic bread.
That makes sense. That makes a little more sense.
Also, I love the.
I also really like the line towards the beginning of the episode where, you know, they first see Betty and Jake's like, "Oh, I thought she was dead," and Finn says, "Disappeared doesn't always mean dead," and I was like, that's very profound, even though I don't think that was the intention of that statement.
Yeah. No, it's very good. Also, I really love the running joke that Tiny Manicore keeps coming back to Magic Man.
Yes. He's like, you put a hostage
He's
thing
like, I
on
have Stockholm syndrome. I need help.
But he doesn't call it Stockholm syndrome. He's like, I have hostage syndrome. But yeah, he's like, I need help.
Let's switch over to Orgolorg, which is a. If you ever wanted to know more about Gunther, this is the episode.
Gunther's a bastard.
Yeah, Gunther
Jesus
is a intergalactic criminal alien tyrant that has been trapped in the form of a penguin for thousands of years, I guess.
And now some of the actions of Gunther over the last like 5-6 seasons kind of make sense. You're like, oh, so that's why he's been kind of a jackass in the background. Right. Like he's been a criminal this whole time.
And you go back to like the second season when Marceline's dad started sucking everyone's souls, and he said that Gunther had the most evil soul he's ever seen. That's why.
Yes. This is why he's a criminal overlord.
Yeah. I'm not sure some of the backstory totally makes sense because like there was stuff with like Glob when he like strikes down Orgolorg onto Earth. We're like, we know from just like the previous episode that Glob had like this, not a lot of hair, but some hair. And we know that was like not more than like a couple thousand, like not more than like 1,000 years ago or so. Based on like when Magic Man was banished to Earth. And Orgolord was apparently like thousands of years on Earth. So it's like that doesn't entirely make sense, and you should have like maybe a better grasp of that continuity.
It's okay. Just
I have to
don't think about it.
Because the show does the show does care about the continuity. The show does care about this making sense.
Yeah, they really generally do, yeah.
So the parts where like it doesn't fully make sense, it's like I know you care about this.
Listen, the regular guy was on vacation that day and they had the backup do the writing. The backup doesn't know all the details. He's just the sub.
Yeah.
He's the pinch hitter. He's like, oh, you want me to write this? Okay, this sounds like legit.
Yeah. But that aside, the episode does leave us off on a rather interesting note where it looks like Orgolord is kind of pushing back to the surface.
Yeah.
So Orgolord might be making some big moves coming soon.
Also, it's a very minor detail at the very beginning, but like Ice King doing knitting is just the cutest thing I've ever seen. And I just am like, it's like a yarmulke for your stomach. And I'm like, sir, that is a scarf. That is a scarf. Also, why are you knitting pink things? That's very adorable. And then, like, he goes to eat his cheesecake, and literally there's this whole batch of these penguins, and there's this thing in his cheesecake, and he still somehow manages to eat around the sleep bomb. Like, it's just so funny.
Like,
I love the Ice King so much. Like, I just love him more and more as the seasons go on, and I'm like, yep, I picked correctly by saying he's one of my favorites. Because he just wants to be loved, and he just wants to cuddle his Gunther. Never mind the fact that Gunther's trying to kill him. It's fine. Penguins are evil.
Well, like they obviously didn't want to kill the Ice King. They just wanted the Ice King out of the way so that he wouldn't be annoying. Like,
no, I
just wanted the party.
I know. They're like, we're just gonna knock you out for a few hours. It's fine.
We're just gonna live it up for a little bit. The brain coming out of Gunther is disturbing, though. Like, no matter how many times I watch that, it is upsetting every time.
This is a children's program, Drew. What that had no business being there.
Right. Yep. And the Ice King just like poking the brain into the skull with his sewing needles.
I'm curious how many kids were traumatized by this.
I believe you. Although it is a good thing about like just like the nature of the show, and it's, you know, not to reference the thing, but like it is the kind of in concept the Harry Potter thing of like kids growing up with the thing that they're watching. So like the kids that were like 10 watching this were like 16 when this came, or like
that's true.
They were like 15 or so. You know, they're about, so like they were old enough.
I mean, yeah, that's exactly what happened with me and Harry Potter. Because, like, I read the first one when it came out when I was, like, 9. And then, like, yeah, each subsequent one, like, I was around the same age. So it was just, like, so, like, by the time the 5th one came out and he was being all moody and bitchy and everybody, I was like, oh my God, I totally understand. Like, the world sucks. Like, I guess I just wasn't really like thinking about that because like we watched these episodes so quickly that I'm like, oh yeah, there's this thing called breaks in between seasons, and like I sometimes forget that with binging. I'm like, normal people watch this an episode at a time.
And it is a thing of like, as the show goes along, like the themes become mature and richer and deeper and all of that. So like it being a little more unsettling, like makes sense, like into teenagerdom, you know. So like that part of it is true, you know, that rings true.
Yeah.
But so next week, we're gonna be finishing off season 6 with episode 41 on the Lamb, episode 42 Hot Diggity Doom, and episode 43 The Comet.
On the Lamb is one of my favorite phrases of all time. I don't know why. It just is. So I like to.
It's a very fun phrase. Like it evokes a very like you know like the like old timey footage of like robbers running from cops in like a circle. It evokes with like goofy piano music playing. It evokes like that feeling for me.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's like kind of a combination of that and just like early like 60s, 70s, like comedy of errors type shows. Where they were like, I did this thing, see? Now I'm on the Lamb, see? Like, literally just like that's what it makes me think. And I don't know, I love that phrase. On the Lamb.
So let's continue on with our next show, which is Dimension 20, Fantasy High, episode 13, Arcade Ambush. And this is the last battle episode before the end of the season. Yeah, so what do you think about this one?
It was okay. Like, it probably wasn't my favorite battle that they've done. But it wasn't terrible. Like, it was good. I do like there was the comment at one point where they're like, oh, so Biz really is a bad guy. Like, he wasn't lying. Like, or there was another one. There's too much Biz going on, and it's just like I don't. There were some quippy moments, but like overall, I was just kind of like, all right, this is a thing that's happening. It's okay.
Now you'll have to remind me because I can't quite remember where this episode ends and the next one begins. So where does this, as you remember it, where does this episode
end? I watched it on Wednesday, so I'm trying to remember. Hold on. Let me see. I'm looking it up because I'm like, I cannot remember for some reason.
Everyone quiet on the field as Matt tries to remember something from 2 days ago.
Listen, ADHD brain. ADHD brain. That's just Arcade Ambush. It says Riz, after pulling gun on Biz in the last episode, shoots at Biz and misses. After missing, Biz starts to glitter and glow and turns the arcade into hallucinogenic, chaotic wonderland. I'm trying to remember how it ended, though. I honestly can't remember.
Okay, well, it doesn't matter. It's okay.
They did do. I do remember they did a Box of Doom roll, which is always fun.
Yeah. No, Lou's Nat 20 roll against the Nat 20 fully makes this episode. Like, just like the sheer.
Oh, I know what I remember now. So like the preview for next week, the cops show up.
Oh yeah.
And they're being accused of Johnny Spell's murder.
Right.
Now I remember. I was like, wait. I was like glancing through this like recap and like I saw Johnny Spell's. I'm like, oh, that's how it ended. The Johnny Spell's burner phone thing.
But no, like that Nat 20.
Anyway, sorry.
Just like that to me feels like the highs, you know? Like that is just like the ultimate like excitement of like actual play.
Yeah.
And just like the amount that Lou freaks out after that is just so great. Yeah, just
yeah.
Oh my god, it's just so exceptional. But no, like, just like to watch like all of the maidens, quote unquote maidens, just like disappear from the arcade games, just because of like bad rolls. Like, it's just so gutting.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's like I said, it's not the most exciting battle they've ever had. It's definitely chaotic. Like a lot of crazy things happen. But and you know, it's obvious that we're getting closer to the end because answers are questions are being answered, but I found myself zoning out a little bit.
Right, because it goes back and forth a lot. Because like people are getting sucked into arcade games, and like Riz is in his arcade for like most of the episode. With Benny. Which and like that part of it, the show has done, like Brennan has done a good job of like making sure that like we feel bad about that part of it. Just like setting up like how much Riz wants to find Penny, and now he has, and it's just like slipping through his fingers. Like,
yeah.
Oh, that's really rough.
Well, and like towards the end we find out that like Biz has these false memories or whatever, and Iodine's like, I bet you it's my sister. Like, I bet you it's my sister that created this false memory and put it in Biz. Like, I think Fig and Iodine say it like as like a part of a conversation with each other. Like Fig like puts the idea in Iodine's head, and Iodine's like, yes, I could. That makes sense.
Yeah. But we definitely know that Penelope was involved.
Yes.
Yeah. So that part of it is like a really good wrinkle. But it's also like, Biz, you definitely thought this was like a good idea. Even if that memory isn't necessarily yours, the amount that you thought that was a good idea is concerning.
Yeah.
Like, woof, man.
Well, it kind of plays into that age-old trope of, people that are nerdy and do things like the what was he in?
The AV club.
What club? The AV club. Like the kids that are like that are more likely to be, ones that wreak havoc on high schools because they're like, I'm done. I'm putting my foot down and I'm going to like get revenge. Like, so like it kind of plays into that trope, which I don't know how I feel about that, to be honest, but it is what it is.
I think the other kids in the AV club, like Shelford and what's the bird guy, the Squawk, or I can't remember.
Maybe,
but like those two being kind of like the antithesis to that, because they're just like, I mean, Shelford's a little more rough around the edges, but they're more just vibes. You know, they're more just like calmer vibes to that. So,
right,
like,
right.
They're really essentially,
yeah,
as like a kind of counterbalance to Biz.
Yes.
Which is why I think Brennan gets away with that, honestly.
Yeah.
And also, he's done a lot of work to show just like how much Biz sucks. Like, nerd or not. Like, he just really sucks.
And honestly, like, it still throws me off the Riz and Biz. Like, I'm just like, why? Why do we have two characters that are basically the same name? Like, stop. But that's just one of my like minor like ADHD qualms about this. I'm just like, my brain doesn't function well enough to handle this sometimes.
Well, I think that is the like other part of that, where like Biz is like the dark timeline version of Biz is the dark time version of Riz. You know, like Riz is like, or like Biz is like what Riz could be if like he wasn't like so like kind of nailed down, you know. Like I think that's another part.
I think
of, like,
you're right.
That works, and why like it's a very like very obvious like why Brennan chose that name for it. But yeah, it's a fun battle episode, getting us to the end here. It is more of just like kind of setup to get to like the big showdown.
Right. Yeah. It's very obvious that like this is the filler episode of the season. Like you're like, oh, this is filler. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and it's clear that like this is always what was going to happen. Like no matter how they rolled, Brennan was still going to find a way to get the maidens out of the arcade and not have like what are
and have the false memory reveal. Like you could tell like those two big things were going to always happen.
Brennan was going to find some way to finagle that by like either setting difficulty too high or he was going to add in another NPC to make it more difficult, or he was going to do something. So this was the way it was always going to
happen. I'm reading this recap and I was reminded the ultimate ninja sword found in a for-real ninja monastery that my friend Trevin found out about.
That is, I don't think you might not understand like just how specific like a male nerd thing that sentence is.
It's so specific.
How specific and how genuine.
No, but I have like it honestly, like I had a couple of guy friends in high school like that would have totally written something like that. Like but I love that Fig made fun of it like right after. She's like, oh, Trevin found it? Yes, now we can definitely trust that. Like, okay. Trevin.
Oh no.
And then she's like, that's a lot to put on a plaque. Like, what?
That was the other thing. The thing that I really loved about this episode is how much effort Fig took, and I guess you could say that Emily took into finding out what all those prizes were. Emily's like, I'm gonna take as many fucking rolls as it takes. Like, it's so good.
Yeah.
Emily Axford, Agent of Chaos.
Yes.
Anyways, also,
but anyways,
I discovered yesterday that apparently Siobhan Thompson was like a staff writer on Rick and Morty for like season 4 and 5. I did not know this.
That's awesome.
Very cool. Even though I don't watch Rick and Morty, I still think that is extremely cool. But yeah. So yeah, next week's gonna be so fucking rad. Like I kind of just cannot wait.
It's all coming together.
So we're gonna preview some shows real quick. And I don't know how in depth we're gonna end up going on this, but we're gonna cover some premieres of some shows. First, we have Expats, which is now streaming on Amazon Prime Video. I believe 3 episodes are out. I watched the first episode. Mads, I believe you watched both of them. No, you didn't watch any of them. You didn't watch
I watched none of them.
So I watched the first episode of this, and it is a technically beautiful show to look at. Nicole Kidman is giving a really good performance here. And a lot of the actors throughout this are giving good performances, but it's hard to like really get a grasp on it. Because it's a lot of like characters diverging and coming together, coming out, and coming into people's storylines and coming out again. It's hard to really get a sense of it on like really what it's about.
Is it like a lot of world building?
It's a little bit of world building. It's set in Hong Kong. You have Nicole Kidman, whose husband has moved there for work some years ago, and seems to be grieving the loss of her son. And another character who seems to have played some part in her son's death, working as a caterer, and seemingly racked with guilt and regret. And then Nicole Kidman's best friend, whose husband seems to have been investigated for whatever occurred in her son's death, and her best friend and her husband their marriage seems to be falling apart now. So it's a lot of that, and it's just like trying to see like how people connect to each other, and just like the first episode's a lot of like navigating grief and like how burdensome and merciless that is, and the ways that kind of circles out to other people.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's perfect. I would say based on the first episode, it's perfectly good. It's a wonderfully directed first episode. Soraya Blue, who plays Nicole Kidman's best friend Hillary, is quite good. Ji-yoon Yu, who plays Mercy, who's the girl who had some involvement with the son's death, is also quite good in just these kind of vacant looks. But it's a first episode problem where it's like, oh, there's not enough here. So yeah, it's fine. I wouldn't tell anyone to necessarily rush out to see it or rush to Amazon Prime to go watch it, unless you're just like really diehard Nicole Kidman, which is hard to play. But let's switch over to Masters of the Air, which is streaming now on Apple TV Plus. I believe 2 episodes are out of this. I watched part of the first episode, which mostly just came down to lack of time and not lack of interest. And what I saw, it looked like quintessential, Steven Spielberg, Tom Hanks World War II drama. It feels very much of a piece of the Pacific and Band of Brothers.
And it's supposed to be, because I was reading up that like it's kind of like a brother series adjacent like kind of situation. So like they're supposed to go hand in hand. I will say one of the interesting critiques that I saw about the first 2 episodes, because I watched the first 2 episodes, was that someone clearly must not like Austin Butler or something, because they were like, Austin Butler acts like he's still Elvis and he's like posing for the camera. And I'm just like, and it kind of made me laugh, because then I read that after watching the first episode, and then I watched the second episode. I'm like, you know what? He kind of does. Like, what? Yeah, like the way he looks at the camera sometimes, you're just like,
yeah, okay. And he's very noticeably still doing an Elvis voice.
Yeah.
Like, I've heard what Austin Butler sounds like, and this is not that. He's just still stuck in that accent, which I do think is funny.
I'm a big, like, in these first 2 episodes, I'm a big fan of Crosby. There's just something about being the navigator and always having motion sickness while you're in a plane just cracks me up. Like, but he's such a go-lucky kid. Like, he's just like, I want to do my best, and I really don't want to be vomiting all over the place, but yet he does. Mm-hmm. And the actor that plays him, hold on, Masters of the Air. I'm trying to remember the actor's name. I don't want to like mess it up. I've seen him. Anthony Boyle. So, fun fact about Anthony Boyle. So, he was a Broadway actor in The Cursed Child on the West End. And then when it came to America, he played in it there too. I saw him in The Cursed Child. He played the role of Draco's son. So it's like funny to see like him do this, because it's nothing like that. But like, I don't know, there's something about Crosby that I'm like, I feel like basically he's the one narrating anyway, so you know something big is coming his way, because why else would he be narrating the story? And it's very interesting, and I'm intrigued to see, how things keep moving forward. And yeah, I really like the other 2 guys. What is it? Austin Butler's character, and then Callum, is that the actor's name? Callum? Anyway, whatever. The other guy that they have the same name, basically. I find them very interesting, and all these kids are just so young. You're just like, they're leading groups of men in war, and they're like younger than I am right now. Like, what? These are like early to mid 20-year-old dudes. Like, why are we giving them this responsibility? Because it's the war. But it's very cinematically beautifully done. I don't know. I just really love war related stuff, and I think that goes back to all the years that was what I watched with my grandfather. So, we'd watch war epics or mob movies, and so like anytime stuff like that comes out, I'm just like, yeah, I've seen this kind of stuff before, but I'll watch it.
Yeah. Well, I definitely look forward to watching more of this when I have some more time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because each episode's like 55 minutes. You don't have time for that.
I do, in fact, hate that. The Masters of the Air is, like I always say, you have to earn that. I feel like Masters of the Air earns that.
Oh, yeah, they definitely earn that in the, first episodes, whatever. Yeah.
But let's continue on to Feud, Capote versus the Swans. This is the second season of Feud. The first season was that Bet versus Tina.
Bet versus something. It was Betty Davis and Joan. Bet versus Joan. Bet Davis and Joan Crawford.
It's hard to remember because this is not a joke. That was 7 years ago, guys. It was in 2017.
Was it really? No. Yeah, it was. What the fuck? I thought it was recent, but no, you're right. You're right. You're right. It was time.
Wait,
what is time? Because I could have sworn we watched that more recently than 2017.
That's what I've been saying.
I watched the first 2 episodes of this, and I've seen many things that Truman Capote ends up being part of the story, and like, does that make sense? Like, I've seen movies where he's an element of the movie, and I always forget that he has this obnoxious voice. Yeah. I always forget. And then the actor playing him opens his mouth, and I'm just like, oh my god, shut up. Just shut up. Anyways.
Yeah.
That's my biggest complaint about this, is that Truman Capote has a very annoying voice.
Well, I've seen the first episode of this, and I like it. I like it a lot. Partly because Ryan Murphy is not connected with the show at all, seemingly. He did not write or direct at least the first episode, which is such a plus. Like, I really cannot express you.
Thank God. I need him to just disappear.
I'm glad that he is a kind of force behind the scenes of this, but not actually connected to it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what I want Ryan Murphy to do at this point, but I don't think I want him to actually do things.
Yeah.
Like, just make sure shit gets greenlit, I guess, is what I want from you. Am I asking Ryan Murphy to just be, like, a network exec at this point? I guess.
Yeah. Honestly, like, the casting for this, like, holy crap, they've got perfect casting for, like, so good. Naomi Watts, Diane Lane, Callista Flockhart. Like, I at first didn't recognize Callista, because, like, I've always known Callista to have bright blonde hair, and in this she has the darker hair, and it's just like, for a moment I was like, oh, that's Callista. Like, it took me a minute. Molly Ringwald is in this. Russell Tovey makes an appearance as well. He's kind of a jackass in this, actually, and I kind of like it, because he typically plays characters that are very easygoing and somewhat naive in general. And so, like, I like that he's now playing a character that's, like, gives Capote as much as Capote takes. Like, he goes toe-to-toe with the guy, and he doesn't back down.
Well, like, even his
and I like
physicality feels really different here. even just from like
yeah.
When I saw him in the Arrowverse crossovers, or there was a show from 2020 that I saw that he was in.
I just remember him from like the first things I saw him in were Doctor Who and Being Human, the UK version, and then he came over and he did Looking for HBO, which he was phenomenal in that as well. And I got to see him do a Broadway show, and he's just such a force. He has such talent that I like getting to see him expand what he does. So it's always nice to see him do something that I haven't seen him do before. Or feel like that he's done before.
And incidentally, the show from 2020 he was in that I watched was The Sister, which I reviewed at Telltale, and it was not good.
Oh no. Oh yeah, Demi Moore was in this
Demi
too.
Moore,
I forgot Demi Moore's in them.
Perhaps more than any other person that I watched in the first episode, is one I really want to highlight because she is a force of nature. In that episode, like she is a bull in a china shop. Like her presence cannot be understated. Like
even when she was just sitting at the restaurant staring at him, you were just like, "Oh, don't cross that bitch.
Yeah,
do not cross her."
Like she is 9 feet tall. Like so good. But also Naomi Watts and Diane Lane are just really good. Like just
so good.
So good. It's like these kind of waspy, late 50s, early 60s women. That you're like, oh, I know exactly who that is. Like I know exactly who we're playing with right now.
Yeah. And Chloe, I can never pronounce her last name right, but Cece, oh my gosh, she's another one of those women that you're just like, oh, okay. You don't ever want to be on her bad side. She's like the honey poison. Like she seems very sweet and very kind, and then she will snap at you. Like, that's kind of it with all these women, to be honest. Like, in some way, they, what is it? Fly like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Like, you don't want to cross these women. Like, and Capote has done that. And it's just like, you are waiting for him to be taken down. Like, this is going to be fun. But I don't know if you got to meet Molly Ringwald's character in the first episode. I can't remember if she's in the first episode or not. So she's definitely in the second one. The second one it's Thanksgiving, and Capote always spent Thanksgiving with his swans, and now this year he's ostracized from that, thing. So he finds himself someone new to have Thanksgiving dinner with, and it happens to be Molly Ringwald's character, Joanne Carson. And he's just sticks out so much more in her group of friends than anybody else. But also, it doesn't help that Russell Tovey's character, John, is very upset that Capote forced him to come to this instead of spending it with his children. And so he basically lets it rip. Like, he shows everyone that he is not happy to be there. He causes a scene, and it's so juicy and good. Like, he at one point punches Truman, and I'm just like, thank God somebody needed to. Like somebody needed to punch this guy. And like I said earlier, Treat Williams is in this series as Naomi Watts's obnoxiously disloyal husband.
Her adulterous husband.
Yes. But Yeah, anyway, it's really good. It's very well done. We also get to see in the second episode, we briefly get to see Jessica Lange as Truman's mother in a flashback.
Because it's not a Ryan Murphy
So,
joint if it's not Jessica Lange.
I mean, Jessica Lange's always going to show up, especially if it's something where it's a very sophisticated drunk woman. Like, that's literally what Truman's mother is. Like, she's a sophisticated drunk, and who plays that better than Jessica Lange? Like,
I mean, if you got Jessica Lange, you use Jessica Lange.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's continue on to On the Roam, which I did not watch this week, but you did.
I watched the motorcycle. I don't know if there was another episode after. I think there was another episode after that, but I don't really care.
I think the motorcycle episode was episode 4 from last week. I thought there should have been 2 more this week. Unless they did another motorcycle episode this week. Which is possible.
Hold on. On the Roam. I think I watched episode 4. Yeah, I watched episode 4, which, 5 and 6 came out this week, and I did not watch those. But episode 4 was good. I think the great thing about this is that, like, okay, we know there's going to be, like, 8 episodes. It's not one of those, like, high pressure, like, we need to talk about kind of shows. So, like, we can go at our own pace.
Right.
So, it's fine that I only watched episode 4 so far.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. There's just something about his enthusiasm for wanting to build motorcycles of a specific, very specific kind. He's like, it's this 1936, and I'm like, bro, you're able to find shit from 1936 that still works? What? Like, okay. Like, it's so and I said, my roommate kind of watched the tail end of this episode with me because she came home from work as I was watching it, and I was like, I would not be sitting here watching an episode about someone talking about the mechanics of a freaking motorcycle if it wasn't the enthusiasm of Jason Momoa. And she's like, I didn't know you were a Jason Momoa fan. And I go, I'm kind of not. I was like, but he's very
that was the exact word I was going to use.
He's very
just
infectious.
Listening to him talk about the motorcycles and, like, just the amount that it excites him. Like,
yep.
You kind of can see, like, a part of, like, his soul light up when he's talking about it, you know? Like, there's something admirable in just, like, being so casually enthusiastic, you know? Just to like everyone he meets, pretty much. But yeah, like that episode's a really good example of, like, Jason Momoa just making friends with, like, the right people. You know? And this show might make the case that Jason Momoa is able to make friends with anyone alive.
Oh, I guarantee that he would walk down the street and smile at someone and they'd instantly be like, that's my best friend. Like,
and I think that is, like, a really...
He just has that energy
I think that
to
is, like,
him.
a really crucial thing about Jason Momoa, at least in this series, is that everyone he talks to like they are his best friend. Like, he talks to them, he might have known this person for 5 minutes, and the way he's talking to them makes it seem like he is their closest friend in the world.
Absolutely. And it's because he listens to what they're saying. He interacts in a way, like, he listens first and then thinks to react. Like, a lot of people, when you're in a conversation, you're listening, but you're also thinking how you're going to say something in response to what they're saying. And that's not what Jason does. Like, he literally stands there and he listens, and then he says his piece. Like, he's like, okay, I've listened to everything you said, and here's what I'm saying in response to that. And he gets to know you. He like wants to know your business and your passion, but also like, okay, well, what's your family like? Like,
well,
so I would love to meet this guy and be like, let's have a conversation.
Well, like, it's kind of like something I heard Brendan Lee Mulligan talk about once when he was talking about the way that he GMs is that like he redirects energy, and Jason Momoa feels like he's taken that, but like taking it like a step further, where like he's not only like redirecting energy, he's taking people's energy and bringing it back to them, but he's almost like investing money in it and like letting it grow and then sending it back to people. It's like I took this energy that you gave me and I just made it so much bigger just by virtue of who I am, and how excited I am just in general, and now I'm giving you that energy back.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, he's just so I these are things that I normally would not be passionate or fascinated with. The photography, yes. That episode was something that I probably would have watched of my own accord, no matter who was doing the talking. But like a lot of these things, like the weaponry and the jewelry and now the motorcycles, I'm just like, this is not stuff I would go out of my way to even think about. Let alone listen to someone talk for 45 minutes about this. Like,
right, but like that is the thing. Like before this, Jason Momoa did not seem like a compelling person, and now he does. Like now he will forever feel like an immensely interesting person.
You know what? I just looked up his astrological sign. He's a Leo. That makes so much sense. One of my closest friends is a Leo, and he's very much the same vein. Like, he can be friends with just about anybody. He's larger than life. He exudes energy and like matches your energy, or even like gives you more energy just by being around him. And I'm like, that's very much Leo's. Like, so that makes sense that that's what Jason is like. He's a Leo. That makes sense. He's a lion.
Anyways, let's continue on to our next show, which is Wild Cards, Season 1, Episode 3, Howl to Get Away with Murder. I love a good episode title. Love a good episode title that's fun. Great stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. Pretty fun episode.
This had a lot of twists and turns.
You had ethical non-monogamy. You had wolves, prohibition tunnels. Like, it had it all.
You also had a wine scheme. Like,
love
come on.
Wine scheme.
The wine scheme. Just honestly, as weird as this, maybe it's not that weird, but like this seems as nonsensical as this episode was. It kind of seemed like something that came out of Parks and Rec's playbook. Like, like a lot of the things that happen, you're just like, are we in Parks and Rec? Because this seems like Parks and Rec. Like, but I am really, really loving what's her name, because she's so attuned with body language that I'm like, she's smart. Like, she knows what she's doing. Too bad she's a con artist. Like, she could be a really good detective. Like,
yeah. I just continue to love Vanessa Morgan's energy that she gives her. Like, it's just so great.
She's like, I love when she's talking to the cook at the winery, and she's like, "So, when did you decide to become vegan?" Like, she's like, "I know why you did, because you were dating the butcher and now you're not." But like, she's just very, like, she seems like she's actually genuinely interested, but then she like snaps because how long ago did you break up with the with the butcher? Like, it's just it's great. It was a good episode. The show continues to be not too serious, and I like that about it.
Well, I like to kind of piggyback off of last week when we were talking about like just like casual mentions of queerness. This week having an ethical non-monogamous relationship that is not demonized and is actually showed in a positive light, quasi-positive light. Yeah, that feels really substantial, and especially, I mean, it's on the CW. Like it's owned by a right-leaning Christian organization now, so it's like that feels really big.
Yeah, when they were like admitted that they were all in a relationship together, basically, I was like, wait, we're doing polycules here? Oh, okay, all right. That's
yeah,
a twist.
And not only that, but like a queer polycule. It's like that.
Yep.
This is big.
Yeah.
Like even on another network, this would be big.
Yeah, like it's nice to see casual queerness.
So I really love that.
Also, I need to know if they got their shirts.
Oh yeah.
I'm just kidding. But no, like I do like that. You know, all throughout the episode, she's like quoting team building things, and I'm like, girl, I love you. It's just their energies are so compatible with each other despite being slightly different, and it really makes the show.
Their chemistry is very good.
So good.
Anyway, let's continue on to True Detective Season 4, Episode 3, entitled Part 3. So I did not get a chance to watch this week. So tell me a bit about this episode.
So I really like that this episode kind of delved into the concept of mother and baby care within indigenous communities. And it's something that was touched upon in Dark Winds as well. So it was really interesting to see it come up on this show. They do a flashback with Danvers is partnered up with her, the other girl, the other cop woman, Navarro. There's a flashback with Navarro that goes back like 7 years or whatever when she first met Anne, which is the woman's death that happened prior to the scientist that they're now trying to connect to the scientist situation, you know, whatever. But she first meets Anne, and she's there to arrest Anne for trespassing on something. I don't know. But Anne's like, well, you got to let me deliver this baby first. And like, you get to see firsthand that one, this is the only birthing center in the area for their community. Two, the baby is born not breathing. And like, you go through that terror that, oh no, something's going to happen to this child. And then that whole moment is juxtaposed with later on in the episode, Danvers' stepdaughter mentions to her mother that one of the women in the community had a baby and she was stillborn. And so like it kind of plays into a lot of that stuff, and why this community doesn't trust the police force, why they're not willing to really work with them to give them answers when they're looking for things with regards to what's going on. And I feel like this episode doesn't reflect well on Danvers, which makes me sad because I love Jodie Foster and I don't want her to play a character that's not well reflected. But there's a moment between her and her stepdaughter, and she sees her stepdaughter wearing the shirts that this group of, as the police like to see it, as rebellious indigenous folks, who are just really just trying to get equal rights and things like that, for their community. And she sees her daughter wearing one of those, and she forces her to rub the indigenous paint off of her face. And I'm like, that's not a good look for you. It's not that. No, that's no, denying your stepdaughter her heritage. That's not a good look. So that part of the episode was very interesting and very compelling. And then on the flip side, we're still trying to figure out what is going on with these men, and one of them was still alive, and they found him, and he wakes up in this episode, and he says to them, "We woke her up." And then he just keeps screaming, and then eventually he just dies. But he does say something to Navarro that connects to Navarro's mother, who went cuckoo crazy when she was little. And so I'm interested to find out how it all ties together as we go forward and learn more.
Right. Well, I certainly look forward to catching up with this.
Yeah, it's still such a good, well done, well told story.
Well, speaking of which, let's move on to our last show of the week, which is Percy Jackson and the Olympians, Season 1, Episode 8, The Prophecy Comes True, which is the season finale of, and hopefully we'll get a second season of this, which has yet to be renewed. So, what did you think of this?
I loved it. I know there are some people that have read the books that are like, okay, this was wrong, this was wrong, this was wrong with the series, but like, I loved the whole season as a whole. Like, I think they did a really good job. And this finale was just so well done. You know, from his interaction with his father, his interactions with Zeus, it's just, you get to see just how much Percy has actually grown over this journey. He definitely has a lot more confidence now, and it's great to see that. And I just, the acting, the cameos, and everything, they just picked the perfect people to play characters in this show. Like, may he rest in peace, Lance Reddick was the perfect Zeus. Like, so good.
It's very, very good. So I was wondering this, and it's not too germane to what I want to talk about, but like, you've read the books, I have not. Is there a way forward with Zeus that does not require Lance Reddick, as notably passed away?
They're probably gonna have to. It depends on how much they want to make. So Zeus is always kind of there, you know, in the background, kind of like all of these kids' parents are. I don't see it potentially being a problem, because the main story for this one centered on Zeus, but the other ones sort of, but not as much. I mean, Kronos is obviously like a big deal going forward, and that ties into Zeus. So unfortunately, I feel like they're probably going to end up recasting if they do move forward, which is so disappointing, but it happens. Like, Harry Potter did it partway through the series when the original Dumbledore died. Like, it's able to be done. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Sorry. A recast is able to be done. It's just going to suck. They'll probably as much as possible just keep him in the background. Yeah.
Right. I get that. Yeah, I was just wondering if this was going to be more of a Zeus is in the background kind of thing, or how strongly he comes into the forefront.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really like this season finale. I think it's really well done. It's well paced enough.
Which is
I kind of knew about Luke.
Right. Which is why, like,
just
when we
'cause
were
of,
in the when they went to the
things I
Lotus
had
and
heard
they
from, like, people
they
who
met
had read the books.
Luke's father, like, that's why I was kind of
who
like,
talk about Luke.
you'll see, he had
So
his
I kind of
reasons
had
for
a
what he
idea
did
of, like,
because he knows
what
his
was
son's
coming with
involved
that.
and he's part of the plot as well. So, like, he's
Also,
of
it's
course
just
he's gonna try and get
very
them
obviously not.
to
It was just
like
very obviously not Clarice.
not make the deadline. Like, he's going to force their hand. Which makes sense. I mean, it just makes sense. But yeah, even in the books, it's kind of like if you are attuned well enough to picking up on clues, like you kind of get the idea.
Right.
Oh, it's Luke. Like it's Luke.
Right.
But yeah. No. All of a sudden there's Luke. Wait, why is there so much Luke? Oh, right. It's like there were people that complained early on in the series. They were like, "We didn't get to see the sword fighting, the sword training
I
that
don't
he
think
did
this
with Luke." And I'm like, "They're
in
saving
particular
it,"
appreciates
and
that.
they did. It was in the final episode.
Because there's a lot of Luke. Like, there's just a lot of Luke in this last episode.
Yeah. I do love the moment where he's like, Annabeth is scared of spiders, and Percy's like, okay, like what? Okay,
Right.
like
Well, like
poor,
if you had shown
poor
that
summer
scene
child,
early on, like,
you
in,
are
like,
not
the second or third
connecting
episode, you would have definitely known
the
it was Luke.
thoughts there.
You would 100% known it was Luke.
But man, he is so gone on Annabeth. You can just tell, like he just the way he looks at her, you're just like, oh, Percy, you got a crush. It's cute, like it's cute,
No,
and I like the
this
scene
is
towards
a
the end where she's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go see my dad, and he wants to show me New York, and I have to pretend like I haven't seen it." Like, I'm like, yes, Annabeth.
Yes.
Yeah. He's like, and then we're going to this thing called Disney World. I don't really know what that is.
Like, that might have been like the most blatant amount of like.
I'm just like, I can't.
Like self promotion, like self advertising with Disney World.
Yeah.
You're like, oh.
Yeah. I also I love the bond between Sally and Percy. Especially like in those final scenes where he's like wakes up from his nightmare dream, whatever, and she's like, "Oh, do you have another one?" She goes, "Okay, so what did he say?" He goes, "Well, Grandpa said." And she goes, "I hate when you call him that." Like,
just shameless.
She's like, "This man is not your grandfather in the like grandfather sense." Like, but It was a really good way of them tying it up while still leaving enough open that you're like, okay, I want to know more, I want to explore more, and it leaves them with that option of having another season should they get renewed, but if not, it leaves it closed enough that it's a satisfying ending. Yeah, it'll probably get renewed. It's very well received. It's very popular. I don't see a reason for them not to do it. But stranger things have happened, so.
Yeah. It seems really hard to imagine that it doesn't get renewed. It seems like. Yeah. Stranger things indeed have happened. Yeah. So
you can find me on Twitter,
this week.
TikTok, Instagram, Dorothy NYC 89.
The return of Abbott Elementary,
and
along with
I've gotten back into Tumblr, so if you really want to go on my Tumblr and see me do fandom silly stuff, it's Mads World 15. So
Mads, where can I find you online?
Yeah, that's where you can find me.
And I have not and will not be on Tumblr, but I am on Twitter at the Drew Koenig, and I'm on Blue Sky at Drew Koenig. I'm also on Serialized, where I'm logging my shows throughout the week. So if you have Serialized, please go follow me there. You can follow the podcast on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Blue Sky at Not Another TV Podcasts. And you can email us at notanothertvpodcast@gmail.com with any thoughts, listener questions, goat submissions, show recommendations that you have. You can find previous episodes of the podcast on Apple and YouTube, along with whatever podcasting device you use. And you can find more, any that aren't there, at our Libsyn feed, libsyn.com/TV Podcasts. And be sure to leave us a review and subscribe, whatever thing you are using. Until next week, please remember, never forget, don't go in the ocean, none of your business. Don't go on a cruise. Goodbye.